6 days after giving birth, I woke up to an empty crib. My sister was calling herself mommy to my son. My parents sided with her and said, "Let your sister raise him." Can you imagine the woman who's supposed to be your biggest supporter, your own sister, looking you dead in the eye, clutching your arm, and demanding your newborn son as if he were hers by right? Because that's how my nightmare began. A battle for my baby that culminated in the most terrifying home invasion of my life. It was supposed to be a celebration. Just 12 minutes earlier, my husband Ethan and I had revealed the incredible news. We were expecting a boy. The joy, the relief, the sheer excitement in the room. And then there was Meline. My sister caught me in the kitchen, her grip like a vice on my arm. "You need to give me your baby when he's born," she said, her voice unnervingly calm. I truly thought I'd misheard her. "You're out of your mind," I stammered. "Why would you say that to me?" "I was meant to be a boy, Mom," she insisted, leaning closer, her eyes blazing with a strange intensity. "I've dreamed about it since I was a little girl. The mother-son bond, little league games, everything." I wasn't sure what that had to do with my baby. Then she said it, the words chilling me to the bone. Instead, I was stuck with a horrible daughter who ruined my life. She said it so casually, like she was talking about a piece of furniture she regretted buying, not her own 5-year-old child, Riley. My heart ached for Riley, who was probably just outside, playing. "That's your child, Meline," I said, trying to push her away. But she tightened her grip, her eyes fixed on me, desperate, almost deranged. "You have a husband," she pleaded. "You can try again, Claire. Can't you see? This is a miracle. I was supposed to have your baby son." I yanked my arm away. "I am not giving you my son simply because you despise your child." Her face contorted. It was like she couldn't comprehend why I wasn't bowing at her feet, offering up my child. "You don't even want to be a mother that much," she whispered, her voice trembling with accusation. "You didn't even cry when you found out you were pregnant." That's when Ethan appeared in the doorway. One look at his face told me he'd heard. His expression hardened as he stepped between us. "Get away from my wife," he said, his voice low and dangerous. Meline didn't flinch. "Keep out of this. This is a family matter." "You're going to leave," Ethan said, softly but with an iron will. "And you're never going to speak with her again. Do you comprehend what I'm saying?" She gazed at him as if he were an ant, then her eyes went back to my stomach. A slow, chilling smile spread across her face. "You can say no all you want," she purred. "Doesn't change what's coming." She turned and walked out, her head held high, as if she knew exactly how this twisted story would end. Ethan grabbed my hand before I could follow her. "We need to leave," he insisted. "Right now." I shook my head. "That's what she wants. She wants to blow everything up and make me look insane. If we leave now, she wins." Ethan looked at me, a flicker of doubt in his eyes, but he didn't argue. We walked back into the living room, and I instantly knew Meline had gotten there first. She was huddled against Mom on the couch, sobbing as if someone had died. Dad stood by the window, arms crossed, jaw tight, refusing to look at me. And little Riley, Meline's daughter, was pressed against the bookcase in the corner, trying to disappear. The only sound was Meline's fake sobs. I wasn't going to let her control this narrative. She just asked me to give her my baby. I announced, my voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Those were her exact words. She cornered me in the kitchen, grabbed my arm, and told me I had to hand over my son when he was born. I waited. For shock. For fury. For someone to turn to Meline and demand an explanation. But Mom looked up at me, her expression eerily tranquil. "We know," she replied. "She told us." "Okay," I said, my voice barely a whisper. And we think you should consider it." I laughed. There was no way I had heard that correctly. But no one else laughed. Dad was still staring out the window. Meline had stopped crying, now peeking at me through her fingers. Even Ethan stood frozen beside me. "I'm sorry," I said. "Do you think I should consider giving my baby away?" "Not giving him away," Mom corrected, as if I were being overly dramatic. "Just letting Meline be more involved. Maybe even," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "having her take the lead in parenting him. You could still see him. You'd still be his mother, but Meline would be his main caretaker." "That's insane." Is it? Dad finally turned from the window. His voice was quiet but sharp. You work constantly. You admitted you weren't even trying to get pregnant. You didn't even seem excited when you found out. I was excited. I explained. I was just shocked. There's a difference. Meline has been wanting this for 15 years, Mom said. She's read every parenting book. She's taken classes. She'd be home with him every day while you're at work. I'm not quitting my job to prove I deserve my own child. See, that's the problem, Dad explained. It's always about you. What you want. How much you're willing to sacrifice. Have you even considered what's best for the baby? I felt like I'd stepped into an alternate universe. My parents, the people who raised me, were standing in our living room, telling me to hand over my baby to my sister as if he were a borrowed car. What's best for the baby, I whispered, is being raised by his actual mother, not by someone who. I paused. My eyes fell on Riley, still transfixed in the corner. She was staring at the floor, but I saw her hands twitching. Not by someone who calls her own daughter disgusting. The room went completely silent. Riley's head snapped up. Her eyes met mine for a brief moment, and I saw something flash across her face, surprise, as if she couldn't believe someone had actually said it aloud. That's not, Mom began. She said it to my face. I cut her off. Just now in the kitchen. She called Riley a filthy daughter who had ruined her life. Those were her exact words. And you want me to give her another child? I looked at Riley again. She was watching Meline now, curious how she would spin it. I'd seen that look before on other people. The face of someone who's been gaslit so many times they no longer expect anyone to believe them. Meline, Dad said softly. Is this true? For a fleeting second, I saw something shift in his expression. Doubt. Concern even. For once he was unsure which side to take. Meline saw it too. She burst into fresh tears. I was upset, she cried. You have no idea what it's been like for me. 15 years of doing this alone. 15 years of wishing things were different and watching others get what I want. She grabbed Mom's arm. I didn't mean it that way. Riley knows I adore her. Tell them, Riley. Tell them I'm a good mother. Riley was the focal point of the entire room. 15 years old, and the weight of everyone's expectations suddenly fell on her shoulders. I watched her face cycle through emotions. Fear, exhaustion, what looked like hope withering before it could fully bloom. She's a good mother, Riley replied quietly. Her voice was flat, rehearsed, as if she'd said it 1,000 times already. Mom relaxed. Dad's face softened. That was all it took for the moment of doubt to pass. See. Meline wiped her eyes. Riley understands. We have our struggles, but we love one another. I felt a twist in my stomach. Are you threatening us if we decide that baby isn't being properly cared for? Ethan finally spoke. His voice calm yet harsh. Because that's what it sounds like. We're concerned, Dad added. Concerned. Ethan stepped forward. Your daughter just asked for our baby. Your other daughter told a child to lie to protect herself. So you're concerned about us. Nobody responded. Meline was staring at me with the same chilly smile from the kitchen, as if everything was going perfectly for her. We're done, I said. I looked at Riley one more time. She was staring at me with an unmistakable expression, as if she had been drowning for years and no one had noticed until now. I'm sorry, I told her. Then I took Ethan's hand and walked out the door. I could barely comprehend what had just happened. My own mother looked me in the eyes and asked if giving up my kid would truly be so terrible. My father wouldn't look at me. And Meline sat there, crying, as if she were the one being attacked. I had defended her daughter, and now I was the villain. I was done being the rational one. I was done justifying myself to people who had already made up their minds. Meline wants a war. She's about to find out that I don't lose. I felt like I was prepared for whatever she hurled at me. Then I returned home after a doctor's appointment and saw the front door unlocked. I dashed inside and stopped dead. Meline was straddling Ethan on the couch, hands pressed on his chest, face inches away from his. He struggled beneath her. You could fix everything right now, she whispered to him. Just say yes. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a mouthful of her hair and pulled her back as hard as I could. It was like I'd always wanted to do it. She flew off him and landed on the floor, gasping. She then looked up at me. "You bitch." She scrambled to her feet and charged, but Ethan was already standing, pushing her back. "He wanted it," she screamed, clawing at the air, trying to get past him. He was about to say yes. I saw it on his face. "Get out," I instructed, my voice shaking. "Get out of my house right now." "What? Will you call the police?" She laughed, a harsh, uncontrolled sound. "And tell them what? That your sister came over to talk? Did she sit too near to your husband? Who do you think people will believe? The pregnant woman who cuts off her entire family? Or the poor, sad widow simply trying to be a part of her nephew's life? They'll believe the security camera," I claimed. Meline froze. "What? What about the one in the living room? The one that's been filming since you forced your way in? What?" Her face turned white. I wasn't telling the truth. She was unaware that we didn't have a camera. "You're lying. Try me." For a long time nobody moved. Then something altered in Meline's face. The despair faded away, and something colder took its place. "Fine," she said, her voice now too calm, too steady. "Do you want to play it this way? We can play it this way." She fixed her shirt, smoothed her hair. "But the baby is mine, Claire. And one way or another, I'll receive what I deserve." She proceeded toward the door, then paused and turned around. "You can't watch them forever." Then she was gone. Ethan slid onto the couch, head in his hands. He was shaking. I sat next to him, placing my hand on his back. My hands began to tremble as the adrenaline wore off. I had just walked in on my sister attempting to abuse my husband. That sentence didn't make any sense in my thoughts. It sounded like something out of a crime documentary, not my own life. "What happened here?" I inquired cautiously, making sure he understood I wasn't accusing him of anything. He didn't respond right away, just sat there, breathing heavily. I massaged little circles on his back and waited. "She knocked on the door," he explained, his voice barely above a whisper. I peeked through the window and saw her. I wasn't about to open it, but she kept banging, kept yelling my name. She said she only wanted to apologize, that she felt bad about dinner and wanted to make things right. He took a hesitant breath. I opened the door to tell her to leave. That's it. Just to tell her to leave, but she surged by me before I could stop her. "Ethan," she began, "you don't understand how hormones make pregnant women insane. How I seem like a reasonable guy and perhaps I might assist her." He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. He appeared so small at that moment. I hated Meline for making him look like this. I kept telling her to leave. I kept moving toward my phone to call you, but she followed me, cutting me off, growing closer. His voice cracked. Then she began talking about how I gave you a boy. That meant I had something unique. Strong genes. And it would be a waste to merely use them once. He stopped speaking and looked at the floor. His fists were so tightly gripped that his knuckles were white. She touched my arm. I drew away. She grabbed my shirt. I tried pushing her away, but she kept approaching. She shoved me onto the couch, and before I could get up, she was on top of me. He paused and swallowed forcefully. I couldn't get her off. I was trying not to injure her because she's your sister, but I wasn't sure what to do. And she kept stating that she wanted me to get her pregnant. His voice shook. That I could give her a boy, just as I did you. No one would need to know. He couldn't look at me. He was staring at the carpet, embarrassed, as if any of this was his fault. I drew him into me and hugged him as tightly as I could. "It's not your fault," I replied. "Do you hear me? None of this is your fault. I should have never opened the door. You couldn't have known. But I did open it." His voice trembled. I let her in and she... "Hey!" I drew back and seized his face in my hands, forcing him to look at me. His eyes were damp. "You've done nothing wrong." She shoved her way inside. "She wouldn't leave. She attacked you. That is on her, not you. Do you comprehend what I'm saying?" He said nothing. He simply gazed at me with an expression that made my heart break. "Ethan, please hear me. It is not your fault." I brushed a tear off his face with my thumb. "You are not responsible for what she did to you." He buried his face in my shoulder, and I could feel him shivering against me. My husband, the toughest person I knew, was torn apart by my own sister. I held him and allowed him to fall apart because that was all I could do. We sat there for a long time. I'm not sure how long. I just held him, allowed him to grieve, and tried to make sense of what had happened. My sister attempted to become pregnant by assaulting my husband. I continued going over that line in my thoughts, attempting to fit it into reality. Meline had always been difficult, entitled, and dramatic, but this was something completely different. This was a line I never expected her to cross. And if she did this, what more might she do? The thought struck me like freezing water. I was pregnant with the baby of her dreams, and she had recently demonstrated that she would go to any length to achieve her goals. We need to do something, I murmured gently. We can't just let this go. Ethan pulled back and wiped his face. You overheard her. She already knows what she's going to say. A grieving widow and a wild pregnant sister. Who will they believe? So what should we do? I thought of my parents. How they'd supported Meline at dinner. How they'd threatened me with grandparent rights. If I told them what had happened, they would find a way to blame me. They would claim Ethan misunderstood. They would say Meline was simply emotional. They'd turn things around until I was the villain again. We were on our own. There was no family or support, only us against whatever Meline planned to do next. I don't know, I replied. But we have to be ready because she's not going to stop. Ethan nodded slowly. He still appeared shocked, but something tougher was settling on his face. If she comes back here, I'll contact the cops. I don't care what she says. I don't care what people believe. She will not return to this house. Agreed. We sat there in silence, holding hands, trying to figure out how everything had gone wrong so quickly. I kept thinking about Meline's expression when she left. That chilling confidence that she knew how this was going to end. My sister attempted to become pregnant by assaulting my husband. I had no idea how to process that. I wasn't sure if I'd ever do it. We simply clutched each other and tried to breathe. An hour passed and the doorbell rang again. Ethan became tense beside me. If that's her, I'll check. I peeked through the peephole. It was not Meline. It was Riley. I opened the door. She was standing there embracing herself, her teeth chattering. Her eyes were red and swollen, and a huge purple bruise covered her left cheek. Riley, what happened? She attempted to speak, but all she got out was a faint, broken sound. Come inside, I urged, drawing her in. You are safe now. Come in. Ethan hurriedly wiped his face and went to get her water while I sat her on the couch. She couldn't stop shaking. She'd flinch every few seconds as if she were bracing for an unanticipated hit. Take your time, Ethan whispered quietly, passing her the glass. His hands were still trembling from what had happened, but he pushed it away. You're okay now. Riley drew a hesitant breath. She arrived home enraged. I heard the car as she slammed the door. I walked into my room, but she came and discovered me. What did she do? Riley's gaze became distant. She was screaming before she even got up the stairs, saying it was my fault, that everything wrong in her life was because of me. She let out a harsh sniffle. She grabbed my hair and dragged me across the hall. I tried to conceal my face, but she continued to hit me. She touched her bruise and winced. She told me that if I had been a male, none of this would have happened. She claimed she had spent 15 years looking at me and felt terrible. She said my dad would still be alive if I hadn't disappointed him so much that he didn't want to live anymore. Riley's voice dropped. She kicked me, he said when I was on the floor. She kicked me in the stomach and said I was worthless. And then she grabbed my arm and flung me out the front door, promising that if she ever saw my face again, she'd make me regret it. She stared up at me with hollow eyes. I didn't know where else to go. I drew her into a hug. She was very slender and little. You're staying here, I explained, with us. You aren't going back to her. She will come looking for me. Let her come. Ethan sat on Riley's other side and placed his hand on her shoulder. She flinched at first and then relaxed. You're safe, he stated. She's not going to hurt you again. Riley looked between us. I could tell she was puzzled, hopeful, and afraid that it wasn't genuine. She burst into tears. Then not loud, just these silent, exhausted tears that had been suppressed for too long. I hugged her and let her cry. The entire day had been chaotic. I stepped into my own home and discovered my sister on top of my husband. She stared me dead in the eye and said, "He wants it." Then she went home and thrashed her own daughter until she fled. And somehow my parents still believed I was the problem. I don't have any words for this. What kind of individual would do these things? I'm not only defending my baby anymore. I'm also protecting Riley. Wait until you hear what Riley has told me. Meline has just lost the one person she has left. She doesn't even realize it yet. Riley told me everything that night. She began speaking once she had stopped crying. Ethan had fed her, and the tremors had subsided. And once she began, she couldn't stop. "You know, she only named me Riley so she could pretend I was a boy," she remarked gently. We sat on the couch together. Ethan sat in the chair across from us. I gazed at her. "What do you mean?" "When she was pregnant with me, she was certain I was going to be a boy. She had the nursery complete with blue walls and baseball posters. Riley brought her knees up to her chest. And then I came out wrong." "You didn't come out wrong," Ethan said softly. "You came out as a girl. There is nothing wrong with that. Try telling her that." Riley nearly smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She maintained the name anyhow. "I told everyone it was unisex, but I know the actual reason. So Mom could call me by a boy's name and pretend, at least in part, that she got what she wanted." I reached out and placed my hand on her arm. "How long have you known this?" "Forever." Riley's voice sounded flat. She never let me forget that. This is why she used to shave my head. I remembered that. Everyone would advise Meline to let Riley's hair grow because she would look amazing with long hair. But Meline consistently refused. When my hair began to grow out, Mom would sit me down in the bathroom and shave it all off, Riley said. "Because it was easier to manage," I finished for her. "Yeah." Riley stared down at her hands on her lap. She didn't want me to look like a girl. Ethan leaned forwards. "How long has that gone on?" Riley caressed her shoulder-length hair, which was knotted and untidy from running here. "Until I was 12. That's when I began fighting back. Arguing, yelling, and shutting myself in my room. She couldn't keep me down any longer, so she quit." She gave a sour laugh. "This is the longest it has ever been. I'm 15 years old and I can finally have hair past my ears. Lucky me." Her sarcasm was harsh, but I could detect anguish beneath it. "And nobody could help no matter what," she continued. "My teacher noticed the bruises, but she always gave an excuse. I fell. I was playing rough. I was a challenging child. And everyone believed her because she's so brilliant at playing the victim." She stared at me. "You saw it during dinner. The way she turned things around on you." "I saw it," I said, nodding. "I just didn't understand how deep it went." I reflected on all our family reunions over the years. Riley had been sitting quietly in the corner every time I had seen her. Every time I saw something was off, I convinced myself it wasn't my concern. I should have said something. I should have done something. "It goes all the way down." Riley picked at a thread on the couch cushion. She only allowed me to wear boys' clothes, jeans and t-shirts. Nothing with flowers, pink, or anything girly. When I started middle school, teachers raised inquiries, so she let me wear some girly clothes to school. But at home, things remained the same. Ethan shakes his head. And let me guess, she used that grieving widow raising a difficult daughter all by herself as an excuse that she loves so much when questions start getting heavy. Riley laughed bitterly. "Yes, everyone always feels terrible for her. That's her entire point. She makes others feel sorry for her. And then she gets what she wants." She paused abruptly and looked down at her hands. "I should not be telling you all this. She's still my mother." "I understand that sounds stupid, but it doesn't sound stupid," I corrected myself. "She's your mother. Of course you have conflicting feelings, but Riley, what she has done to you is not acceptable. None of this is acceptable." Riley was quiet for a moment. "Do you really believe me?" The inquiry was so little and delicate, as if she was bracing herself, expecting me to answer no. "Of course I believe you. Because nobody ever does. I've tried to tell people before, but they always, 'I believe you,'" I repeated firmer this time. "Every word." Ethan slid off the chair to sit on Riley's opposite side. She flinched at first, but did not back away. "I believe you too," he added gently. "I know what she is capable of. She hurt me today." What she did to me. He stopped, his jaw tensing. You aren't alone in this. Not anymore. Riley gazed at him with something like recognition, as if she had finally found someone who understood. She used to tell me things when I was younger, Riley said, her voice becoming more steady. Things I believed because she was my mom, and I didn't know any better. Like what? Ethan asked. Riley was quiet for a moment. She opened her lips to speak and then closed it. She tried again. That I was meant to be a male. I wrecked her life by being born incorrectly. She convinced me that my father died because he was disappointed in me. He didn't wish to live anymore. Riley, I took her hand. That is not true. None of this is true. I understand now. She gripped my hand back. But when you're 7 years old and your mother tells you that your father killed himself because of you, you believe it. You've believed that for a long time. Her voice cracked with the final word, and she had to pause. She pressed her hands to her eyes and took a shuddering breath. Take your time, I said softly. You don't have to tell us everything tonight. No, I want to. I need to. She dropped her hands and gazed at me through wet eyes. I've been holding this for so long. I just want someone to finally know. The room became quiet. Ethan leaned over and placed his hand on Riley's shoulder. She appeared astonished, but she did not draw away. You can let it all out, Ethan gently offered. Cry, shout, and talk till your heart is content. We are here for you. For once, Riley said, feeling relieved. There was this one occasion. I was 10. I had saved up my allowance and purchased a yellow thrift store frock with small flowers on it. I put it in the back of my closet and wore it only when she wasn't around. She paused. She found it, pulled me into the living room, and made me watch while she cut it up with scissors. She vowed if she ever saw me wearing girl clothing again, she'd make sure I regretted it. Riley's hands tightened into fists. I was 10. Who would do that to a 10-year-old over a dress? I could end her, I said. The words spilled out before I could stop them. I apologize. I know she's your mother, but I could truly kill her for what she did to you. Riley stared at me. I don't believe anyone had ever expressed anger on her behalf before. Ethan placed his hand on her shoulder. When I was 11, I painted my nails with transparent polish. You could barely see it. Riley's voice was shaking, but it was no longer sad. It was rage. She locked me out in November. All night. I was in my jammies and feared I was about to die. And the next morning she let me back in and pretended nothing happened. As if I deserved to be punished like that. She sprang up abruptly and began pacing. It has been 15 years. After 15 years, everyone simply turned a blind eye. Teachers, grandparents, everyone. She was shivering from wrath now. I spent my entire life thinking I only needed to live until I could escape. But you know what? I'm done being quiet. She's always been the problem, and everyone has let her get away with it. I wiped my eyes. I hadn't noticed I was crying. I rose up and drew her into a hug. She fought for a second, still angry, before collapsing into me. We stood for a long time. I could feel her shivering against me. All of her wrath slowly drained away, leaving only tiredness. You're not going to send me back, right? Her voice was muffled on my shoulder, little and afraid. Never, I promised. I promise you're staying here with us for as long as you want. She clutched on tighter. There's something else, Riley whispered into my shoulder. Something you need to know about your baby. I pulled back. What about him? When you announced that you were having a boy, she went silent. You've probably noticed. Everyone else was celebrating, but she just sat there and stared at you. I nodded. I remembered. That night she entered my room. She was not angry. That was the scariest part. She was constantly angry. But this time she seemed calm and almost happy. Riley's jaws constricted. She replied, "That's my second chance. That baby will fix everything." That's my second chance? That startled Ethan. She has been planning this for months. She has put up a nursery in the extra room. Blue walls, a cot, clothes, toys, everything. Riley looked between us. She has a name chosen out. She talks about him as if he were already hers. I felt cold all around. She's not going to stop, Riley stated. She'll never quit. She's waited her entire life for a boy. and she believes she's finally going to get one. She doesn't mind what she has to do. I imagine Meline on top of my husband. I remembered Riley's bruise, the years of abuse, and the nursery where my kid waited. She's not getting him, I explained. She's not getting you either. Riley looked at me. Her eyes were red and inflamed. She appeared weary, wrung out like she had just run a marathon. She always wins, Riley said. Not this time. I shook my head. Riley did not say anything. She simply leaned against me and closed her eyes. Ethan rushed over and wrapped his arms around both of us. We stood there in silence, the three of us holding each other up. Riley, for the first time in her life, was not alone. Neither were we. Riley visited overnight and slept in our guest room. I sat on the bed next to Ethan, wondering how we were going to protect our kid from my wild sister. He would arrive any day now, but I'm not afraid of her anymore. I'm angry. Angry for Riley, Ethan, and myself. Let me tell you what happened just a few days after I gave birth. You aren't going to believe this. Finally, my baby boy was born. He was healthy and perfect. I cradled him in my arms and forgot about anything else. I just stared at my son and felt something I'd never experienced before. As if I would do everything to protect him. Anything. We arrived home from the hospital 3 days later. Riley was still staying with us. She assisted with the baby while Ethan and I tried to figure out how to function without sleep. The first few days were a flurry of feedings, diaper changes, and weariness so intense it felt like drowning. In addition, I was constantly on guard. I kept expecting for Meline to arrive, phone, or do something. But there was nothing. She has not contacted me. My parents have not contacted me. Just silence. Part of me wanted to believe it had ended, that she had given up. But Riley's words echoed in my thoughts. She isn't going to quit. She'll never quit. She's waited her entire life for a boy. By the 6th night at home, I was exhausted and unable to see clearly. Ethan was the same. Riley seemed fatigued from helping us around the clock. That night, everyone went to bed early. My baby was in the nursery down the hall. I had the monitor on my nightstand, volume turned all the way up. I remember thinking that I should stay awake. I should pay attention, but my body wouldn't cooperate. I fell asleep before my head hit the pillow. I'm not sure how long I was out when Riley shook me awake. Claire. Her voice was urgent and terrified. Claire, wake up. When I opened my eyes, the room was dark. Riley stood over me, her face pale. What's wrong? I inquired, still half asleep. I overheard something. A door? I suspect there's someone in the house. Ethan had already sat up next to me. What? I heard the front door. Riley remarked. I'm sure of it. We all remained silent, waiting until we heard it. The baby wailing, then stopping. Then I heard footsteps moving quickly. Then the front door closes. I was out of bed before I realized I was moving. I dashed down the hallway to the nursery and pushed open the door. The crib was empty. My son was gone. For a little while I was unable to breathe. I couldn't think. I just stood there, staring at the empty place where my kid should be. This was not occurring. This cannot be happening. Then Ethan rushed past me, heading for the front door. Call 911, he said over his shoulder. I tried to follow, but my body wouldn't cooperate. I had given birth 6 days ago. Everything still hurt. I was slow and clumsy, and Riley was waiting for me in the corridor, grasping my arm and helping me walk. Give me your phone, I asked. She handed it to me. And as we approached the front door, I dialed 911. 911. What is your emergency? My sister took my baby. My voice was shaking so badly that I could barely speak. She broke into my home and took my baby. She's in front of my house right now. Please hurry. I gave them the address and then hung up. We made it outdoors and I noticed them. Meline was halfway down the driveway, holding my son in her arms. She was moving quickly, practically running, embracing him to her chest while talking to him. I could hear his crying in her voice in the night air. It's fine, baby. Mommy is here. Mommy has got you now. Everything is going to be okay. We're heading home. Something inside of me cracked. That was my son. She referred to herself as his mother. Ethan caught up with her first. He grabbed her arm and turned her around. Give me my son. Meline's expression was crazy. Her eyes were enormous and darted everywhere. and she looked like she hadn't slept for days. "He's not yours," she said. "He wasn't yours. He's mine. He has always been mine. Give him to me right now." "No." She backed away from him, cradling the infant tightly. He began shouting. This high-pitched howl rang through the night. "You do not comprehend. None of you understands. I've waited my entire life for him. He represents my second opportunity. He is going to fix everything." Ethan grabbed her arm harder this time. "Let go of my son." "He is not your son." Melanie attempted to twist away, but Ethan held on. They were straining now, both of them pulling, the baby wailing between them, and they were both trying to be careful not to damage him. I eventually reached them. Riley was close behind me, gripping my arm and keeping me upright. Every step hurt, but I didn't mind. "I crawl if I had to." "Melanie, stop," I yelled. "Give him back." Melanie glanced at me, and something in her expression changed. The despair turned into sheer hatred. "You," she spat. "You do not deserve him. You never wanted him. You cannot care for him like I can. I have been preparing for him. I have a nursery. I've got a name. I have everything ready. And you think you can simply keep him from me? I will not let you. He is my son. He's my second opportunity." She was screaming now, spit streaming out of her mouth. "What has it been like for you? 15 years of staring at her." She jerked her head toward Riley. "And being reminded every day of what I didn't get. 15 years of watching others get what I deserved. And then you, my own sister, you get pregnant by accident and it's a boy and you don't even appreciate it." I lunged at her. I didn't think about it. I just moved. I grabbed the infant and tried to take him from her arms. She grabbed him tightly, yanking him back. And for a terrifying moment we were both pulling on him, my son screaming between us. "Let go," Melanie screamed. "He's mine." Riley jumped in. She grasped Melanie's arm and attempted to pry it from the infant. "Let him go. This is ridiculous. Just let him go." Melanie's gaze turned toward Riley, and her expression twisted into something terrible. She let go of me with one hand and slapped Riley in the face hard. The sound cut through the air. "You," Melanie hissed. "This is entirely your fault. If you had only been a male, you could have been all I needed. 15 years of disappointment. It's been 15 years of staring at you and feeling terrible. And now you're attempting to steal this from me, too." Riley did not back down. She grasped Melanie's arm again, this time with more force. "I'm not letting you do this. Get off me." Melanie attempted to shake Riley loose, but she hung on. In that moment of distraction, Ethan moved. He placed his arms around the baby and pulled. Melanie wailed as the infant was wrenched from her grasp. Ethan lurched backward, cradling our boy to his chest before handing him to me and putting him into my arms. I was holding my baby. I was holding him. He was safe. He was here. He was mine. Melanie lunged toward us, but Ethan stepped in front and blocked her path. She attempted to get away from him, clawing at the air and yelling things that didn't make sense anymore. "He's mine. You cannot do this. He is meant to cure everything. Give him back." Sirens in the distance were growing closer. Melanie heard them as well. For a brief moment, something resembling panic crossed her features. Then it vanished, replaced by the icy certainty I'd seen before. "This isn't over," she stated. "I will get him back. I will find a way. You can't watch him indefinitely. You cannot." The police cars drew up, their lights flashing red and blue across the front yard. 2 officers got out and approached us. Melanie spotted them first. She stood up, wiped her face, and something changed in her look. The craziness faded away, and she appeared to be a worried, concerned mother. "Officers, thank God you're here." She pointed to me. "That's her. She broke into my house and attempted to abduct my baby." I was simultaneously astonished and offended. "What?" "She's been threatening me for months," Melanie explained, her voice trembling with phony tears. "She is infatuated with my son. She believes he belongs to her. I'm not sure what's wrong with her, but please help me get my kid back." The officer stared at her and then at me. I was standing there in my pajamas, my hair a mess, still bleeding from giving delivery 6 days earlier and clutching a crying newborn. "That's not true," I answered. "She is lying. This is my baby. She broke into my home. She's delusional. Meline explained. Ask anyone. She has been stalking me. She has been bothering me. My entire family can tell you. The worst thing was that our parents would find a method to prove her correct and my life would be ruined forever. One of the officers raised his hand. Okay, everyone calm down. Ma'am. He stared at Meline. You're saying this is your child? Yes. His name is Henry. He's 6 days old. He's 6 days old? My blood became chilly. She knew he was old. She had been observing us. His name is not Henry, I explained. His name is Miles. I gave birth to him. You can check the records. She's lying. Meline yelled, her mask slipping for a few seconds. Why would I lie about my own baby? The officer looked between us. Do either of you have an ID? I do, Ethan said, taking a step forward. I am the father. I have my ID and pictures from the hospital. My wife gave birth 6 days ago. This woman, he pointed to Meline, is her sister. She's been pestering us for months, attempting to kidnap our baby. That's not true. Meline was crying now. Real tears or fabricated ones. I couldn't tell anymore. He is not the father. He is lying. They are all lying. The other officer was looking at Riley, noting the red mark on her face. What happened to you? Riley's voice remained steady. She struck me. Just now. I tried to prevent her from taking the infant. She's my daughter, Meline replied swiftly. She is troubled. She makes stuff up. She has been in therapy for years. You may ask anyone. I'm not making anything up. Riley's voice carried into the night. She broke into their residence using a key she had since before the locks were changed. She went into the nursery and removed the baby from his crib. I overheard her. I awoke them. And when I tried to stop her, she hit me just like she has my entire life. Riley, stop it. Meline said. Tell them the truth. I'm telling them the truth. For the first time in 15 years. I am telling the truth. The officers exchanged looks. One of them talked over his radio to confirm our address and request backup. The other one turned to face Meline. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step away from the baby. No, you do not understand. He is mine. Ma'am, I've been waiting my whole life for him. The mask was now gone. Completely gone. Do you know what it's like to want something so badly and see others have it? She does not even want him. She didn't cry when she discovered she was pregnant. But I'd be a good mom. I'd be the best mother. He is supposed to fix everything. She lunged at me and the officers caught her. She fought, she kicked, scratched and screamed, calling me every name she could think of, telling the officers they were making a mistake, that the baby belonged to her, that she'd been waiting her entire life for him, that I stole him, that everyone was lying, and Riley was a troubled child who made up stories. They had to force her arms behind her back. They had to put her in handcuffs. She was still wailing when they placed her in the back of the police cruiser. They screamed when they closed the door. I watched the automobile drive away. The lights still blazing. My boy pushed against my chest and I felt him breathe. It was over. Meline faced charges of breaking and entering, attempted kidnapping and violence. Riley spoke about her experiences, and the prosecutor added child abuse charges. My parents initially tried to defend Meline, claiming that she was disoriented and needed treatment rather than prison. But when Riley took the stand and told the court about the head shaving, the yellow dress, the night she spent imprisoned outside in November, and everything else Meline had done to her over the last 15 years, everybody fell silent. They did not testify on Meline's side. They did not testify at all. Meline was sentenced to 22 years. That night was the culmination of years of silence, manipulation, and a twisted obsession. I nearly lost my son and my husband was traumatized, but in saving Miles we also saved Riley. We chose to protect our family, the real family we built, not the one that had let us down so many times. It's a harsh lesson, but sometimes the toughest decisions are the ones that finally bring peace. What would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with family, even when it felt like the world was against you? Tell me what you think, I really want to know.